Hello everyone, my name is Cyrus. This will be the first video in a series I want to do where we look at the history of diplomatic relations between two countries. These videos will be anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes on average. If you guys like a particular episode and want to know more, drop it down in the comments and I can go more in depth about it. Quick disclaimer, this video is to be educational with some comedic elements, and I do not claim this as the entire comprehensive history between the two countries. As you already know from the title, today we'll be looking at the history of the US-Afghan relations. It's actually quite surprising, and there is unfortunately a decent amount of foreshadowing. So, let's begin. Our story starts in the 1830s with a fellow named Josiah Harlan, quote-unquote American adventurer and political activist born in Pennsylvania. He decided he was going to travel to Afghanistan with the intention of becoming its king. Which, if your first interaction with an American is that he claims to be your rightful king, explains why some people think of Americans as being a bit arrogant. Moving on, when he got there, British Indian Army began their invasion of Afghanistan, starting the First Anglo-Afghan War. It was at this moment when Harlan realized his true American roots. And he... He eventually won the title of Prince of Gore, and then just left. Yes, he just left and went back to the US after all of that. Fast forwarding, official relations began in January 1921, when Afghanistan sent a diplomatic envoy to the US to establish diplomatic relations. Not much of interest happened until after World War II, when Harry S. Truman sought to strengthen the US-Afghan relations. This goal continued all the way up until 1979 when the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan began. The US pulled all support, and on July 23, 1979, US authorities decided to evacuate the families of American nationals in Afghanistan. That, in literature, is called foreshadowing. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and subsequent occupation lasted until February 1989. During which they fought an Islamic resistance group called the Mujahideen. The US, due to their unwavering love of the Soviets, provided approximately $3 billion USD in military aid to the Mujahideen, which I am sure included many of the guerrilla tactics America just finished learning about in the Vietnam War.
Welcome to the Poppy Fields, mother.
Drop it. Yeah.
I like to imagine that the higher-ups in the CIA were all talking to each other, and one of them was like, hey, you know what would be an amazing idea? And they're all like, what? And without an ounce of hesitation, says, let's teach this radical Islamic resistance group, who hates America, how to beat a modern military. And, better yet, let's give them state-of-the-art equipment to help them do it. And everyone just looks at that person and says, yes. There's no possible way this could ever go wrong. Anyways, the Mujahideen gave the Soviets the equivalent of a Vietnam, but in the desert and the mountains. Talk about the hills have eyes. After the Mujahideen won, a civil war broke out, and America dipped and completely forgot about the country for some time. During which, the sons of the thousands of refugees who fled to Pakistan formed a group called the Taliban, where, now being adults, crossed the border and took back their homeland, bringing order to what was once chaos. However, while everybody was pleased that stealing and the bad word that begins with stopped, this also came with many other strict Islamic laws that were not universally loved. Like I said, though, any order, no matter how strict, was better than the absolute chaos during the Civil War, where RPGs were fired from building to building in densely packed urban centers. So people felt this to be an improvement, even if only a small one. Relations resumed, and worsened, in 1998, when this boyo, who is a part of this group, authorized two of them actually, declaring war on the US, and then went all boomer on the US Embassy. The US responded with Operation Infinite Reach, where some American cruise missiles knocked out some of their bases. And the response, which is priceless, was having this man call the US State Department, demanding President Bill Clinton resign. What I want to know is if they actually thought this was going to work, and if they were legitimately disappointed when the State Department said no. The US then refused to provide aid or recognition to the Taliban government unless they expelled bin Laden, who was residing under the Taliban's protection. The Taliban refused under this, that demanded guests must be offered sanctuary. What came next changed the world.
Immediately, there's speculation or cause for concern. This is the World Trade Center that was the center of a terrorist bombing some years ago. So the questions have to be asked, was this purely an accident, or could this have been an intentional act?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Operation Enduring Freedom followed, in which case can only properly be summarized as
This is where the fun begins.
I got one! Hey, frag out! Stall the
The Taliban quickly fell, and by November 2001, America had almost complete control of Afghanistan. Yet Operation Enduring Freedom would not end until December of 2014. Yes, America stayed in Afghanistan for over 13 years, setting up a new government with billions of dollars of funding, despite having conquered the entire region in less than a year. Going back to 2012, the United States announced Afghanistan to be a major non-NATO ally. The U.S. Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, came out and announced this as part of the Enduring Strategic Partnership Agreement. Afghanistan was now in the same club as other major U.S. allies, such as South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Brazil, Australia, Argentina, and Singapore. Next came the U.S. reduction of troops. Again, in 2012, Hillary Clinton reiterated the White House's decision and said that they envisioned keeping some American troops in Afghanistan, where they would provide the kind of air power and surveillance capabilities needed to give Afghan forces an edge over the Taliban. Quote, "This is the kind of relationship that we think will be especially beneficial as we do the transition and as we plan for the post-2014 presence." She said, "It will open the door to Afghanistan's military to have a greater capability and a broader kind of relationship with the United States and especially the United States military." In 2018, the U.S. agreed to reduce their number of troops to 8,600. And in 2019, it was released that approximately 40% of U.S. aid to Afghanistan ended up in the pockets of corrupt officials, warlords, criminals, and insurgents. These were called the Afghanistan Papers. On February 29, 2020, the U.S. signed a peace treaty with the Taliban, which, to absolutely no one's surprise, the Taliban broke less than a month later on March 20th, 2020. The story ends under the presidency of Joe Biden in the withdrawal of U.S. troops and the evacuation of the U.S. Embassy, which over its lifetime has had over $500 million spent on expanding and renovating it. Thank you all for watching. Please let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. If you want more in-depth videos on any topics you find interesting, let me know. And what diplomatic relations between two countries would you like to see next? And I'll see you in the next one, guys.